What if everything you knew about classic WoW was rewritten? Not expanded, not remastered, but reimagined. Welcome to Project Epoch, a full Classic Plus experience built entirely from the ground up. Launching on July 26, 2025, this server takes on a bold new approach. It's not just continuing vanilla, but it's reshaping the world, the lore, and the systems in entirely new ways. So in this video, I'll be breaking down what makes this new Classic Plus server so different. So hang tight and enjoy the video. If you've been around the Classic Plus scene, whether that's Turtle WoW, Season of Discovery, or just following the idea in general, you've probably heard the name by now. But if not, here's what you need to know. Project Epoch is a full Classic Plus project. It's launching right around the corner, July 26, and it's built on the Wrath of the Lich King client. And that alone already sets it apart, because the Wrath client gives them way more flexibility, better performance, smoother combat, updated UI, and more tools to actually build with. That means new towns, new questing zones. They've got over 1,600 new quests. They've also added over 2,000 new creature types, including hundreds of rares across every zone. Some of the zones you know and love have been completely rebuilt. Towns like Goldshire, Razor Hill, they'll be looking a little bit different now. And the level ranges for some of these places have been shifted. There are 8 new race and class combos, like Undead Paladin and Dwarf Shamans. Class design has been completely reworked with a 61-point talent system, giving more room for custom builds and experimentation. Professions have gotten a full pass too. New quests, new recipes, and bonuses that actually impact gameplay. Dungeons are a mix of reworked, old, and brand new ones, all with new mechanics, loot, and updated encounters. Raids are scaled down from 40 mans to 25 mans, and 20 mans are 10 mans. All raids, old and new, are rebuilt with fresh mechanics and modern tuning. On Project Epoch, the world also changes based on time. They've built their own Epoch time system, which runs on an accelerated day-night cycle. This affects which rare spawns, which quests are available, and even which events happen. So it isn't just a cosmetic thing anymore, it's baked into the gameplay. PvP's had a major overhaul too. There are updated battlegrounds, arenas, and a completely custom PvP system inspired from later expansions. And the new world bosses in the game now trigger open faction based PvP. So to get the kill, you've got to beat both the boss and the other faction. They've also got a system called racial knowledge, where at level 60 you can unlock and equip the racial abilities of other races, but only one at a time and only after completing questlines tied to their lore. There are challenge modes too, stuff like Soul of Iron and Explorer's Contract, which you can opt into for a tougher experience with different rules and rewards. Soul of Iron is basically their take on a hardcore themed gameplay, but with some new twists. And finally, reputations have been completely reworked. Some old ones have been rebalanced, new rewards, while others are entirely new, with endgame gear, cosmetics, and other stuff to chase. So yeah, it's a lot. In the rest of this video, I'm going to go through each of these systems in more detail and just talk through what this server is doing, how it works, and how it compares to other Classic Plus projects out there, like Season of Discovery, Turtle WoW. So let's dive into it. Project Epoch reimagines Azeroth with a massive world expansion across both Kalimdor and the Eastern Kingdoms, adding new towns, questing hubs, and enemy factions. Classic locations like Goldshire, Durnhall Keep, and Anderhall are given new stories, threats, and level brackets, while entirely new areas like Springs Pocket, Asphalt Post, and the Blazing Hills introduce fresh challenges, questlines, and rare encounters. Every zone feels renewed with meaningful progression and rich atmosphere. One that really stands out to me is this Stranglethorn Vale Ring of Strength, pretty much inspired from Legrand's Ring of Blood in TBC. I can't wait to dive into this one. It looks very cool, and I just remember I loved the Ring of Blood event from TBC. So awesome. It's not just new scenery, it's interactive stuff as well. And just taking a look at something like Goldshire, it's towns completely remade. So much has changed. So it's gonna be so awesome to like explore these new towns or new locations again. Epoch also introduced both minor and major world bosses, creating meaningful world content from mid-level to endgame. Minor bosses like Gunsword, King Knock offer dungeon-level quality and challenging fights for 5 to 10 player groups, adding danger and excitement to leveling zones. Meanwhile, major world bosses like Vulcan deliver epic, large-scale encounters at max level, requiring full groups, strategy, coordination, and offering high-end rewards that rival raid loot. World bosses are now integral to the open world experience, not just a static target, but dynamic threats. So you can pretty much imagine the Fell Reaver in TPC moving around the entire Hellfire Peninsula, giving that shaking effect. All of a sudden you're standing there questing and you get a little bit too close to him and he just comes and stomps you. I'm really hoping for something like that, and I think that's what they're hinting at. So that real sense of danger up in the higher levels, having zones where world bosses are walking around like that, it's gonna feel awesome for sure. They've expanded and modernized the faction system with a mix of classic and all-new reputations, each offering meaningful rewards. Major factions like Valorous Expedition, Argent Dawn, and Team Overhauled grant access to powerful gear, rare crafting recipes, mounts, companions, and cosmetics across different rep tiers. Reputation gains are streamlined for better pacing, giving players long-term goals tied to exploration, fashion progress, and endgame power. So pretty much exactly the same as what Turtle WoW has done. They've added a ton of new items and recipes to the different factions, and as well minor factions at lower levels. It's probably going to be a lot easier to get this rep, and therefore also a lot easier to gear your character. They've added over 1,600 fully original quests across levels 1 to 60, creating a expansion-worthy leveling experience that rivals the Burning Crusade in scale. Every zone features new storylines, dynamic quest mechanics, and immersive quest chains that elevate the world beyond the traditional kill and collect tasks. Dungeon quests are now rich with narrative, PvP objectives tie into progression, and factions have their own story arcs. The Lore Master achievement has been reworked to highlight curated Lore Walker chains, guiding players through each zone's most meaningful moments. So yeah, that's a massive amount of extra content and new areas to explore. And Epoch has also done something special with the rare mobs in Azeroth. Epoch brings over 150 new rare enemies to Azeroth, each hand-placed to offer unique challenges, valuable loot, and even rare tames for hunters. Every zone features at least 3 new rares, ensuring constant surprises across familiar and new landscapes. Some rares are time-locked, only appearing during specific windows in the day-night cycle, adding a new layer of strategy and discovery to world exploration and rare hunting. So yep, now there's actually a reason to go out of your way to see if you can find some of these rare mobs. Very much unlike the original vanilla, where you can find a rare mob and can get very disappointed that you get a white drop or something useless. But these are apparently going to pose quite a challenge, so you might want to group up to kill these, and yeah, some interesting loot as well. And then they have their racial knowledge system, allowing level 60 players to unlock and swap their racial abilities through immersive questlines tied to their cultures. These lore-rich journeys deepen roleplay and world building, while offering full racial ability sets with no restrictions on race or class. Abilities are visually and thematically customized per race, maintaining immersion. Cosmetic racial abilities remain tied to your original heritage, allowing cultural expression alongside mechanical flexibility. With unique icons, effects, and visuals, each racial's path feels distinct and meaningful. So they've added some cosmetic stuff, changed some racials, and now they allow you to swap racials between different races. So that's probably a decent solution to the problem of which race is best in different scenarios like PvP or raiding and stuff, but I'm not sure how I feel about you being able to swap your racials that way. But anyway, that's what they've done here, so gonna be interesting to see how it all works. They've reinvented professions by making them a core, rewarding part of character identity and progression. Every profession offers meaningful bonuses, dozens of new recipes, and world-spanning mastery quests, including a unique title for those who complete them all. Trainers are accessible from early game towns, ensuring smoother progression. Whether you're crafting powerful gear, gathering for profit, or building a name as a server-renowned artisan, professions are now rich, personalized, and built for long-term value. So I think that's great. I've always said that I think professions should be the only way to get the best gear in a game. It's always best for an MMO when the best gear in the game comes from crafting or professions, because that way you can tie in older dungeons and materials from the open world as well as materials from raids and other dungeons, and that way making the entire game more relevant, even in the late game. I've said it before, but something like Thunder Fury keeps Molten Core relevant for the entirety of the game, because you need to go back into Molten Core to get some of the match you need to create Thunder Fury. Same goes for Hand of Rag, and if you just expand that idea or mindset out into many other areas of the game, not just legendary items, but some epic items as well, you can imagine you having to go into a dungeon to get a drop or a material from a boss in order to create a awesome helmet or armor or something. And that same way you're incentivizing people going back into these maybe already cleared instances just to gather this material, keeping the whole world relevant in that way. They've introduced 8 new race and class combinations, opening up fresh ways to play and explore your character's identity. Dwarves can now be shamans, gnomes can now be priests, humans can now be hunters, dwarves can now be mages, undead can now be paladins, trolls can now be warlocks, tauren can now be priests, undead can now be hunters. And I think definitely one of the most anticipated things is undead paladins and dwarf shamans. That is also something I think that if Blizzard made a Classic Plus, they should definitely do this one as well. To me, it's the only thing that really makes sense if you have to introduce paladins to the Horde and shamans to the Alliance, then dwarf for shamans makes a lot of sense because they are connected to the earth, which kind of goes hand in hand with being a shaman. The only one that might be a little bit controversial is, of course, undead paladins, but if you say that undead priests can wield the light, then why wouldn't undead paladins be able to? At least I prefer that over tauren paladins. I think that makes a lot less sense to me. After all, undeads were humans and many human paladins died in the Third War. It would make sense for these undead to somehow learn to wield the light, even though it might burn them. And I think they strike quite a good balance with the rest. Troll Warlock, yep, that makes sense. Hunters as humans, of course, that should have been in from the start. Dwarf Mage, lore-wise, there were a lot of dwarf mages. It was dwarf mages that brought Ragnaros, the Fire Lord, into our realm. Tauren priests, I don't know, maybe. That's more of a little bit of an iffy one, as well as gnome priests, but it's not the worst. I think those are some good race and class combos, for sure. They offer optional challenge modes, modifiers that change how you level. You can opt in by talking to a challenge NPC in most secondary towns. for example, Goldshire, Razor Hill, or Brill, but only if you're level 8 or below. Once you've accepted a challenge, it's permanent on that character. Each challenge gives you rewards when you hit level 20, 40, and 60, including achievements, potion bundles, bigger bags, and at level 60, a title that reflects the challenge you completed. At launch, there are 2, Soul of Iron and Explorer's Contract. Soul of Iron, a soft hardcore mode. If you die, you can either delete your character or walk back to your capital, heavily weakened, to continue without the challenge. Title: The Iron Rod. Explorer's Contract, XP from quests and kills is halved. Exploration becomes your main way to level, so you'll need to go off the beaten path. Title: The Patient. There's also a global challenges chat where you can follow others, share progress, and compare runs. So, of course, inspired by the hardcore challenge modes, I think that started on Turtle WoW and then moved to Blizzard's original servers as well. I know that Turtle WoW, they've got a ton of different challenges as well. But yeah, it's definitely nice to see something like this on Epoch as well. It's something that can keep the game alive for a lot longer and make the leveling journey a lot more interesting. So I hope they add a lot more of these challenges. I love a challenge where you can only grind mobs. You can't complete a single quest. I definitely opt in for a challenge like that. So Project Epoch, if you're listening, I want to try and melt my brain. Some of you guys probably know I have a grinding guide on my channel. I prefer grinding in my games. Just killing mobs. It's so chill. You can sit and watch Netflix by the side as well. They're making the world harder. Enemies will hit harder, live longer, and use stronger spells. Whether you're soloing or in a dungeon, fights will require real focus and teamwork. Classic is too easy. Mobs deal low damage and barely use abilities. They're fixing that with modern tuning and smarter design to make Azeroth dangerous again. To balance stronger players, they're scaling enemies. Extra talent points and better early gear make things too easy. So enemies get more health, armor, damage, and stronger spellcasting. Over 3,000 abilities are being upgraded. Burns, heals, buffs, debuffs, all stronger. Enemies don't just hit harder, they fight smarter. Creature behavior is changing too. Wolves will leap, boars will charge. Even early zones will feel fresh and deadly. Elites will be real threats, they're no longer easy XP. Many will require groups, and new elite-only zones are being added for high-risk, high-reward gameplay. Bosses are being rebuilt. Many get new mechanics or full reworks. Fights won't be pushovers, they'll demand coordination and strategy. They're reshaping Azeroth into a true test of skill. And I'm just a tiny bit worried about this one, because you could definitely make the world too difficult. Of course, they need to scale up things because we're getting TPC changes, plus a few Wrath, and plus a few of their customs. But of course, if you make dungeons too hard, or raids for that matter, you're gonna turn off a lot of people, I think. Epoch time changes how time works. The world runs on its own accelerated cycle. Day and night now pass in just 3 to 4 hours, with subtle variation to keep it fresh. No matter when you play, you'll see the world shift from sunrise to nightfall in a single session. The world reacts to time. Guards light lanterns. Fishermen pack up. Some quests, events, and creatures only appear at certain hours, meaning time isn't just visual, it's baked into the gameplay. Night actually feels like night. Lighting has been overhauled with darker shadows, cooler tones, and more atmospheric effects. Twin moons, misty forests, starlit cities. The whole world feels more alive after dark. Even mobs and items respond to the cycle. Some creatures only show up at night. Some racials and trinkets shift effects depending on the time of day, like gaining intellect during sunlight and spirit at night. It's not just a faster clock, it's a living world that keeps changing around you. And in my opinion, I think this is probably one of the most exciting things about Project Epoch or Epoch. This is some very unique change that I haven't really seen before. The closest thing to it is probably what they did on Turtle WoW with Darker Nights, which was a mod you could download to make the nights really dark, but it wasn't really affecting anything. Here on Epoch, it seems to be a real dynamic thing that affects the world. So I'm really excited to see this one in action. PvP is a core focus, even on the PvE realm. They've built a full system with arenas, battlegrounds, world PvP objectives, and structured rewards, all without the old rank grind. No more rank decay. You earn honor and conquest points to buy PvP gear. Classic titles like Grand Marshal and High Warlord now come from achievements, including a 100,000 honorable kills grind. Seasonal PvP. New seasons reset arena rating and bring fresh gear. The server launches in a pre-season phase with entry-level sets from Warsong Gulch, the only battleground at first. PvP defense stat. All PvP gear comes with a custom stat that reduces damage from players and their pets. Honor points earned from battlegrounds, PvP quests, open world kills, and killing enemy leaders. Used with marks of honor to buy rare quality gear and consumables. Conquest points earned from arenas, world bosses, and battlegrounds, especially the first daily random BG, used to buy epic quality gear. There's a weekly cap, but everyone shares the same limit to allow easy catch-up. Marks of honor. Each battleground has its own mark. Use them with honor or conquest points, or trade them for gold and consumables near BG entrances. Low-level PvP gearing vendors outside BG zones sell upgradable PvP gear for leveling characters, like Morshan Rampart for Horde and Silverwing Grove for Alliance. I really love, as a PvPer, I really love many of the PvP incentives they've made here on Project Epoch. But as some of you who are following me probably already know, I despise PvP specific stats, and I won't go into a rant about those in this video, but you can check out my video on that. I made a separate video about PvP specific stats and why I think they ruin some of the fun in an MMO by separating communities. But everything else, I'm excited to see. I hope they bring in 1 versus 1 arena. I'm not sure if they already have this. I don't think they have. Basically, duels getting rewarded for being good at beating someone in a 1 versus 1. I think that's also coming to Blizzard's original Classic Plus once they've gotten their heads out of their asses and figured out what the players want. At least that was on the survey that they sent out some time ago. And I think that came on the back end of all the Classic Duelers League that was arranged in back in 2019. So I'd love to see that 1 versus 1 arena as well, and especially for those people who don't have someone to play with. A lot of people who play alone and have a hard time making friends just via in-game. So I think there are many good reasons to have 1v1 arena as well. Dungeons and raids are the heart of PvE. They're revamping old content and building brand new instances to deliver better visuals, smarter mechanics, and more rewarding loot without losing the soul of Classic. New dungeons are being added, each with original bosses, items, and storylines. Classic dungeons like Deadmines and Wailing Caverns are fully reworked with new layouts, mechanics, and loot. Every dungeon, old or new, now offers updated encounters, better visuals, and more replay value. Examples: Deadmines 18 to 23, remade with new layout, mechanics, and loot. Wailing Caverns 17 to 24, completely overhauled from the ground up. Glittermurk Mines 39 to 44, a new underwater dungeon in Stranglethorn Vale. Baradin Hold 57 to 60, a revamped prison-turned-pirate stronghold in Tol Barat. Stone Talon Caverns 57 to 60, coming soon. Raids scaled down sizes. All raids are now either 25-man or 10-man, replacing the old 40-20-man structure. Reworked bosses come with new faces, spells, and mechanics. Tier tokens replace traditional gear drops. Pick the item you want via reforging inside the raid. Tokens can also be disenchanted, so nothing goes to waste. Future raids are in development, including entirely new locations and encounters. Examples: Onyxia's Lair, 25-man, with new bosses, Ortorg, Atresian, and a reworked Onyxia encounter. Molten Core, 25-man, 11 bosses plus a secret new challenge deep within Uldum 25 man coming soon. So yeah, there's still some things under development, but overall, I think these are very, very interesting changes. I know some people prefer the bigger 40 and 20 man raids, while others prefer the smaller versions. But I don't care much either or. So for me, I'm excited about what all this entails and to see these new dungeons and bosses and yeah, pretty much giving a fresh take on vanilla with more modern mechanics. Classes overview. They've built classes on a Burning Crusade foundation, keeping the depth and identity of Classic without the class homogenization that came with Wrath. More talent points. You now earn 61 talent points by level 60, up from the usual 51. That means deeper builds, hybrid specs, and more room to experiment without needing to hit level 70. Reworks and new spells. Every class has been touched. New talents, new spells, reworked abilities, and new set bonuses, with weak specs brought up and strong specs fine-tuned. An evolving system balance and class design will keep evolving. The aim is to stay true to Classic's roots, while pushing class design further than TBC ever did. I think something like TBC as a foundation is something that a lot of people definitely would love to see. There are many who tout TBC as the real Classic Plus, where only the only bad things that TBC brought along with it was probably, in my opinion at least, resilience and flying mounts. The rest was pretty good. In PvE, pretty much every spec brought something to the board. Overall, TBC brought along with it a lot of great talent changes and just in general changes to every class. But when it comes to PvP performance, especially in Arena, I think TBC has some classes that really stand out compared to the rest. Namely SL Warlocks, Resto Druids, Rogues, and to some extent also mages. While something like Enhancement Shaman or Elemental Shaman, but especially Enhancement Shaman and Hunters, they really fall behind. That's where I think Wrath probably had, in PvP at least, the best balance in terms of utility and how well each class compares to the other, and basically just how well each class spec performs in PvP. There are a few things I like about Cataclysm. One example is focus for Hunters. I think that makes a lot more sense. And a few other things, like Lone Wolf as an option to play without a pet, without compromising too much on damage or utility. So I think what they're doing here is that's in the right direction. You know, you want to mix some things from TBC, some things from Wrath, and a few things from Kata. Bring that together to make the perfect Classic Plus class changes. And lastly, some miscellaneous features they've brought in a mix of Wrath-era systems and their own Classic Plus upgrades, all designed to improve your everyday experience in subtle but impactful ways. Rideable cards from level 520 zones. You'll find rideable cards that take up to 4 players across fixed routes. Think of them as scenic communal travel, like from Goldshire to Redridge, and you can hop on or off mid-ride. The achievement system is back, but reworked to fit a grounded classic setting. You'll find new feats with immersion in mind. Transmog is available, but you can also disable it. So if you want the world to look raw and authentic, it's just one click away. Banking improvements, guild banks, and the expanded personal bank slot are here, giving you more storage and control over your loot. Mount scaling. All mounts scale with your best riding skill. Ride whatever looks best. Speed is no longer a concern. You can unlock dual specialization for 1000 gold, just like in Wrath. Swap freely between 2 builds for PvP, PvE, or support roles. Barbershop. Customize your character's look anytime with the Barbershop. No reroll needed. Global BG Cube for battlegrounds from anywhere. No need to run to a battlemaster. Collections, tab, mounts, and pets now have their own tab, freeing up your bags and making things more accessible. The Wrath client means smoother gameplay, more add-on support, cleaner macros, and better performance across the board. And I say I love all of these changes, especially the ones where you sign up for BGs via menu. Because being confined to sitting in the main cities just to wait for your queue to pop. It seems completely redundant. What's the need for that? Why not have more people in the world? So I think something like that is something that's really, really great for a Classic Plus project like this. Mount scaling, guild bank, of course. Transmog is a bit iffy, but it's really, really nice that you can switch it off so that for you, everything appears normal. That's how I understand this feature, that you're able to switch it off so that you don't see the transmogs, while the people who have turned it on, they do see them, which is a great compromise for people wanting to easily be able to recognize a class or how geared a person is in PvP based on what they're wearing. And these travel cards, like helping you, especially here in the early level zones where you have to run everywhere, this just speeds it up a little bit, and it also brings something dynamic into the world. So I really like those as well. What I would like to have seen as well is a dungeon finder, not something that automatically puts you into a group or automatically teleports you to the dungeon, but something like they had in the anniversary realms, where you can easily see who's signing up for what and invite them via this menu. Removing it from the world chat, removing all the spam and noise from the world chat, I think is a good idea as well. They just need to make sure that you don't get teleported to the dungeon, and it doesn't automatically form the groups for you. Thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe if you want to see more Classic Plus content. And until then, I'll see you in the next one. Get fucking hyped for Project Epoch!